A very good evening to you all, and welcome to the final presentation of weekly market update by SC Securities for the year 2022. And let me begin with the stock market performance as usual, and then I will be moving on to economic highlights from the local front and global financial markets and commodity market updates. Okay, so let me start the presentation with the market performance. Colombo Stock Exchange was marginally up during Tuesday's trading session after Christmas holidays. So during the day, SPI went up by 73 points to close at 8,452.70, and S&P SR 20 index also went up by 32 points to close at 2,655.59. During the day, turnover was recorded an amount of 1.3 billion, whereas foreign purchases reported a value of 380 million, on contrary to 7 million worth of foreign sales. So, investors witnessed some sort of a buying sentiment, and they started collecting from the battered down shares for last couple of weeks, and this sentiment was turned into negativity during Wednesday's trading session. So SPI went down by 41 points to close at 8,411.42, and S&P 20 index also went down by 25 points to close at 2,631.03. So the resurfaced talks regarding the debt restructuring and also the government's move to increase electricity tariffs by January 2023 insulated sort of a negativity to the market. That's why the indices have declined. And during the day, turnover also amid thin trading that was declined to 856 million, and foreign purchases even reported a very lower value of 16 million over 2 million worth of foreign sales. And during Thursday's trading session, indices were on mixed note. SPI climbed up by 21 points to close at 8,431.97. However, the S&P SL 20 index with most liquid index with index heavyweights declined by around 5 points to close at 2,626.09. However, during the day, turnover level picked up to report a value of 1.76 billion, but foreign sales reported a value of 122 million, where the foreign purchases was somewhat lower and that reported a value of 20 million. So, during the latter part of the week, especially during Friday's trading session, both the indices went up and uh, closed at green territory to end the year 2022. So SPI gained 58 points to close at 8,489.66 for the year, and S&P SR 20 index also gained around 10 points to close at 2,635.63. So during the day, turnover level further improved, and that reported a value of 1.88 billion. However, foreign sales picked up for the second consecutive session and reported a value of 88 million over 23 million worth of foreign purchases. So looking at the overall market for the week, SPI gained up by 1.31%, and S&P SL 20 index also gained up by 0.45%. And with the support from Expo and especially the foreign purchases that was reported during the Tuesday's trading session, foreign inflow was reported, and that amounted to be 219 million. Then let me move on to the treasury yields. So treasury yields in terms of three types of maturities have declined for the week. So currently the 3-month yield is at 32.64%, and 6-month yield is at 32.20%, and 12-month yield is also at 29.27%. And looking at the exchange rate, Sri Lanka rupee in terms of USD and GBP resulted sort of an appreciation, but when it compared with the euro and Japanese yen, that resulted sort of a depreciation. So let me take you through a flashback to the year 2022, the special scenarios that have been taken place for the year. And first of all, let me wrap up the overall market performance for the year. So the daily average turnover was reported an amount of around 2.97 billion, and anyhow, the stock market, which resulted over 80% gain during the year 2021, was decline, and that for the year 2022 year to date decline of SPI was 30.6%, and S&P 20 index also declined by 37.7%. So stock market was one of the best performing stock markets during the year 2021, resulting in a net gain of around 80%, but this year it was decline. And if we look at the foreign inflows, that was the most positive thing for the year 2022, with the support from SG buying of Expo. The foreign inflow was reported a net amount of 49.8 billion, and especially if we talk about the SG's buyover of its Expo shares, SG is currently holding 1.61 billion shares of Expo, and this supported to resulted in a high net foreign inflow to CSC. And then moving on to the economic highlights from the year 2022. I guess this is one of the worst years in all terms. So you could all have remembered regarding the impact from the COVID-19 during the first 3 months of the year 2022, and that prevailed for some long time, and most of the people get affected with the recent variant Omicron. And then after the default of coupon payments to international bondholders by April, Sri Lanka credit ratings were downgraded to C minus levels and even to selective defaults levels. So this resulted a devaluation in currency by the previous government, and the soft peg collapse amid import restrictions skyrocketed inflation within the country. So inflation turned into double digits and even crossed the 70% mark. And with the inability to with the forex crisis, Sri Lanka faced the trouble of importing the fuel in order to supply the fuel requirement of the country. And you all could have remind of the long queues that have prevailed to obtain the fuel requirement. And also with this forex crisis, there was continuous power outages, and there was hours in darkness. So with these turbulences and with pressures, people initiated Article 2 through of the previous government. And of course, with these internal factors, the impact from the global market with the Russia-Ukraine war that led to a lot of circumstances, and especially the commodity prices have massively picked up, and they further accelerated the overall inflation level. And with these pressures, the Federal Reserve and altogether with Sri Lanka Central Bank, they had to seek major increases to their interest rates. And historically, we are now going through the worst economic crisis since the independence. So, with all these negativities, we had to seek the support of international monetary fund, and the only positive thing that we think that we could think of year 2023 is the board level approval for the loan that we are going to get from the IMF. And in order to support the IMF program, there was major tax revisions, and also SOEs are in the phase of reforming with the major changes. So, with all these things, we are moving on to 2023. And apart from the positive fact of getting the board level approval for the IMF loan, there was two avenues that we could think of generating more lucrative earnings, and that could support us to get away from this economic crisis. And these two avenues are the tea and tourism. It seems a lot of parties are taking initiatives to promote tea and tourism in the global arena. So, especially the Sri Lanka Tea Board forecast that the tea exports for the year 2022 will be 250 million kilograms, and that will total a revenue of $1.2 billion. But with the shortfall in the fertilizer and the adverse weather patterns, the output was declined by around 17% on year-on-year basis, and that elevated the average prices in terms of all means, and that's why now the tea prices are at their all-time highs during the tea auctions. And the tourism also, this week, Russia's Red Wings airline and the Red Wing airline made their inaugural call to Mattala Airport in Sri Lanka, and that carries around 412 passengers, and they are willing to operate flights twice a week. And of course, the Silver Spirit, an Italian luxury cruise ship, also made its maiden call to Colombo port this week, and it carries over some significant amount of guests with that. So the travel advisors for both the Red Wings and the Silver Spirit is Aid Conspens Travelers, and this movie is good and positive in terms of overall economy and in terms of companies' perspectives. So altogether, these Aid Conspens Travelers have now operated around four ships, or handled over four ships so far for the year, with around 500 guests, and they are even willing to have 19 other cruise ships by the May of year 2023. So these are some positive motives that we could think of the tourism sector boom in the year 2023. So tea and tourism will be one of the two avenues that should be carefully handled in order to get out from the economic crisis. So the Sri Lanka authorities are currently eye on the relaxation of Chinese travelers regarding the COVID restrictions. So with that, we are expecting more Chinese tourists to come into country, but at the same time should be very careful about the surging COVID numbers in China, because with the relaxation of most of the travel restrictions, the COVID patients are massively surging at the Chinese territory. And let me quickly take you through the insights from the commodity markets and the global financial markets for the week. So, oil settled higher to end the year with their second consecutive annual gain, and even for the week that reported an upward movement. And the oil set its highest since 2008 during the March of the year 2022 at $139 per barrel, and that was supported by the supply disruptions erupted from the Russian-Ukraine war and the demand considerations from the China, which is the largest crude importer of the world. And even gold prices settled higher for the week, but they have somewhat remained. A decline was resulted because of the continuous hawkish monetary stance of the Federal Reserve. And same, the copper and aluminium prices also picked up for the week, but they altogether resulted annual declines with the recession fears and the slowdown in the construction activities. And worst stocks also in the year in an optimistic mood. So most of the world stocks managed to gain throughout the week. And but anyhow, there was sort of a slip down in European-based shares with the fears over the surging COVID numbers in China, which could result in an economic downturn in the year 2023 as well. But most of the as investors from most of the other world markets have determined to end the year with positivity, and they resulted weekly gains for the week ended 2022 December 30th. So with that, I would like to continue the presentation. I would like to hand over to continue the presentation. Harin, it's over to you.
Thank you, Sachini. So looking at gold during this week, we were able to see that the price managed to close above the price level of 1,800, US dollars per ounce. And as we look into this week, we can clearly see that the price made a high of 1,834 on 27th of December and managed to close at 1,823. So if the price managed to become bullish during the next week and sustain above the daily support of 1,800, which is also the psychological area, we might be able to see testing the 1,834 level, key level again, and also testing the level of daily resistance 1,810, 1,850, 1,860. That key level of daily resistance could be tested. And also we have a rising wedge. Therefore, this indicates a bearish momentum as well. A worst case scenario, after testing the level of 1,834, it could decline towards the level of daily support 1,800, 1,800, 1,810, the key area of the psychological area, that key area and the psychological area. So that would be the worst case scenario if the price becomes bearish. If it becomes bullish, definitely we might be able to see it reaching the level of daily resistance 1,850, 1,860. And with that being said, we have the RSI, daily RSI closing at closed at 60.94, and also the moving averages also indicates, which is 50 and 20, indicates a bullish momentum as the price is trading above both moving averages. And for the all share index this week, we were able to see the index made a closing at around 8,489.7, which is at the daily resistance 8,450, 8,500. It also made a low of 8,329. And so if the index in the coming week, if it crosses about the daily resistance 8,500, and also the moving averages that we have as 50 and 20, we might be able to see testing the level of 8,845 before testing the psychological area of 9,000. So rejection from the moving averages, which is 20 and 50, and also the daily resistance 8,450, 8,500, could lead the index to a bearish momentum towards the level of 8,329. So that could be tested as if it gets rejected from the 50 and 20 EMA and also the daily resistance. So so that could basically happen. And if it sustains above the 8,500, then we have certain key areas that the index needs to retest, and then only we'll be able to see it testing the level of 8,845. The RSI closed at 46.79 for this week, and which is the daily RSI. Next, we have the topic of the week, which we have chosen as ECL, E-Channel PLC. This is the weekly chart, and the price managed to close at the week resistance 12.513. The closing price was 12.8. So here we have a somewhat of an ascending triangle formation. If it manages to break and make a retest from above the weekly resistance, making it a support zone of 12.513, we have the next weekly resistance as 16.5. So as this is the weekly chart, this each candle represent 1 week of a time period. The RSI for this, the weekly RSI closed at 62.75. And also here we have from the moving averages, there's an indication that there was crossing 50 and 20, where the 20 EMA crossed the 50 EMA from below, which indicates a bullish momentum as well. Soon as it sustains about the weekly resistance, making it a weekly support after retest, we might be able to see testing the weekly resistance 16.5. So these are the key updates for this week. Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please do like and subscribe, our channel. Also put a comment. I wish you all a very happy new year 2023. Thank you very much.